2NURFM.com, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.
You know, I absolutely love it when I get a chance to catch up with this man, but I just realised it's been around 4 years since we last spoke. That's how long it's been, but it doesn't seem that long. Joining me from the University of Newcastle, Wollotuka Institute, Professor John Maynard. We're here this morning and we're chatting about a new release book, True Light and Shade is the book, isn't it, John?
That's right, Dave, and it's a pleasure to get back in the studio with you, buddy. It's been some time, as you said.
It has been, and it shouldn't be that long.
That's right.
This is the work that you've captured of the images of the great convict artist Joseph Lycett.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I've always been an admirer of Lycett's work. I mean, it captures Aboriginal culture and lifestyle and ceremony in and around Newcastle in particular in great detail. So the National Library approached me in regards to putting together a book and giving an Indigenous perspective on Lycett's artwork, if you like.
Tell us a little bit of background about him.
Well, his parents died at a young age, and he and his sister were taken in by an uncle. I mean, sort of well-to-do sort of family, and he was brought up with the notion that he was, you know, from the right side of the street, so to speak, and he decided he was going to become an artist. I mean, he lived well beyond his means, though, and he sort of went into forgery and was caught. And at that particular time in Britain, I mean, 2/3 of forgers were hung. So he was lucky to survive that. But I think his family's influence managed to keep him from the gallows. And he was jailed initially at Shrewsbury, and then he was on the hulks in at Portsmouth, and then he was transported to Australia. So that's where it started.
Now, once he was in Australia, where was he based then before he moved on and moved around?
Yeah, he was in Sydney to begin with, and again his background as an artist was beneficial. So he wasn't in the sort of labouring work. He was given a position and do artistic endeavours. But for one reason or another, he went back into forgery and again was caught, and was then transported to Coal River, which is Newcastle, which was portrayed at the time as the hellhole of the colony.
And was he there long, around the Coal River area, John?
Yes, he was here for quite some years. And again, first off, he was in sort of heavy labouring position, but Lieutenant Wallace took over here, and Wallace had a different sort of view of Newcastle. It was instrumental in the church being constructed, a number of buildings, and he also got Lycett and a couple of other artists be involved in capturing Newcastle, or early Coal River, if you like, with the scenes. And Lycett was clearly drawn with a passion to capturing Aboriginal people and their culture, and which he was encouraged to do so.
It seriously caught his eye because the images there, and so many of them feature Indigenous Australians.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because he couldn't have captured these images unless he'd built up trust and respect, and certainly worked in a culturally appropriate and sensitive manner, if you like. And that's the detail. And I don't say he was a great artist of the human form. He sort of portrays himself as that, but it's the images of country and certainly Aboriginal culture.
And it's where he captures them. As you say, hunting and gathering. They may be out there in the water fishing, and he captures that. And
ceremony.
Yes. Did he have a good association with the Aboriginals?
There's no written record of anything like that, but I mean, certainly from what you can take from the images, he had to.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't have got that close and recorded what he has, which is also backed up by others with their written words at the time. So that's the thing. I mean, the striking thing for me as well is he captures the locations. I mean, we see the harbour, if you like. We see Nobbies, Wibagumba. We see Bar Beach. We see Kimba, Mount Sugarloaf. We see Lake Macquarie. We see all the locations. It goes back about, for me, 20 years ago when in the early days for me at Wollotuka, and the then director, Tracy Bunder, Wollotuka was putting together a conference presentation. It wasn't PowerPoint then. They wanted to do slides. So I went all around Newcastle with the book of Lycett's images, trying to find the locations and marry them up and then gather images of them, which were then converted into a slide presentation. So that goes back, and I found many of the locations in regards to those images.
Before we went to where I said to you, the production of this book is amazing. This is one of the best looking coffee books for a coffee table I've ever seen. You could quite proudly have this sitting on your table. Friends will come and visit, just pick it up and just browse through it because it's really well put together. When's it launched, John?
It's going to be launched on November the 14th at the National Library in Canberra, and Nick Dodson, a good friend of mine, a brother, He's going to launch the book for me down there. And I really have to say, as you have commented, Dave, the National Library and the staff there who have worked on this have done an outstanding job. The design and the way they've used the images.
Beautiful.
It is absolutely stunning. I've never seen anything like it. It's great.
Okay, now that is great. And if people would like details about the book on where you can get it, because you will want to have this book, it's so beautiful and it's so well done by all concerned, especially John, just call us at 2NURFM. We'll be able to point you in the right direction where you'll be able to get the book. Your next project that you're working on is one that we're hoping to talk about maybe in 12 months.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. You went over to the United States.
Oh yeah, of the last the last time we spoke, I had a large ARC fellowship looking at Native American and Aboriginal politics in the period 1900 to 1930. So I spent a lot of time with the Native American communities and centres over there, and looked at a lot of the institutions, the libraries and archival things, and looking at the different comparatives of experience in that time politically for Aboriginal and Native Americans.
Yeah, see what kind of synchronicity there is
Yeah,
between
yeah.
the Native Americans and
Absolutely.
the Indigenous Australians. Yeah.
Well, there's no greater mirror image if you look at the impacts of white colonisation, invasion, occupation, dispossession, cultural destruction, kids being taken away, all of those things, massacres, all of that ties together.
Well, we'll look forward to talking to you about that, and it won't be 4 years away. We'll make sure of that.
For sure, Dave.
Thank you, John. Always good to have you down here at 2NURFM.
Pleasure as always, buddy.
Joining us from the University of Newcastle, Wollotuka Institute's Professor John Maynard with 2NURFM 103.7.